Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Change with Emma Bradford. Thank you so much for being here. Out of all of the podcasts out there, thank you for choosing this one and listening to this one, joining me today. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. In today's topic, I want to dive into emotions. This is such a big subject. I've recorded a few podcast episodes on emotions and related topics, and you can go back and listen to those. I will link them in the show notes if you haven't heard those already, talking about overwhelm, anxiety, and the hidden gifts in anger, sadness, and fear. In this episode, I want to get practical. I want to give a couple of simple, effective ways that we can navigate heavier emotions if we're feeling a lot of sadness or anger or fear, or we're feeling guilt or jealousy or any of those emotions that perhaps we might find challenging. I want to talk about that and explore some simple and effective ways on how we can really ease our way through that, to move through them and to learn from them, rather than suppressing them and avoiding them and shutting them down. First of all, what are emotions? Emotions are energy in motion. I've talked about this on previous podcasts, that everything is made up of energy. Science has proven this. This is not some wacky idea. This is something that has been proven by science, that everything is made up of vibrating particles, energy, and space. And emotions are part of that. They are energy in motion, emotion, hence the name. And often we think that there's something that just happened to us, that they just come out of the blue, out of nowhere. And sometimes we're not fully aware of how much our thoughts are contributing and influencing and perhaps even creating some of these emotional states that we find ourselves in. So if ever there's a heavier emotion coming up, it's interesting to notice, okay, what thoughts were just thought about previously? Like what have I just been thinking about? What have I just been focused on? Have I been focused on all the shoulds and the must-dos and have-tos and need-tos and all this pressure? Have I been focused on I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy? Notice the thoughts, notice what precedes that emotional state, and notice if that has been contributing. Most often it has. So if you notice that there's a heavier emotion arising, pay attention to the thoughts. And when we're aware of the thoughts, then we have a choice. We can rewrite the story if we choose. We can turn shoulds and have-tos into I could or I choose, and notice how our emotional state differs afterwards, how that transforms just by changing a few words around. Though this is not one of the main things I want to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about two separate practical techniques that we can do to help us navigate the heavier emotions. And I talk about emotions in terms of weight, in terms of heavy or light. Often that they're described as negative or positive. Happiness and joy and any emotional state that is uplifted is often considered as positive, and the emotional states that feel a bit heavier, in my eyes, and also from hearing what clients have been describing in terms of like fear, sadness, and anger, often they're considered as negative. Though this is something I disagree with, because every single emotion has a message. Every single emotion has a gift right there. It's an invitation leading us onto something else if we choose to take it. I go into this in more depth in the episode talking about the gifts of fear, anger, and sadness. I'll link this in the show notes. Everything has a gift. So if anger can bring a gift, if fear can bring a gift, then that can't really be negative, right? So I tend to consider them as heavier or lighter, because sometimes joy can feel incredibly light and uplifting. And when we're deep in sadness, that can feel very heavy. Though they're both valid, and if we didn't have this full spectrum of emotions, we wouldn't have half of the things that we do in the world today. Poetry, books, films, music, art, all of that is thanks to emotions, thanks to human beings feeling. Emotions are creative fuel, which brings me on to the first technique, the first thing that I feel that can be really beneficial whenever we're experiencing heavy emotions, is to find a way to express that creatively, whether that's through writing, whether that's through dancing, whether that is painting, whether that's singing, whatever floats your boat, whatever feels good for you. Find some way to express that creatively. And this is not about creating the next masterpiece or work of art. It's about the expression. It's about releasing that emotion, putting it out onto paper, or singing it out, or writing it, or playing it through an instrument. And through that transformation, we're allowing that energy, emotion to flow through us and out of us. And as a result, we can feel so much lighter, so much lighter. So I'm going to link in the show notes a PDF. This is one PDF that I've used with many clients and students over the years. It's something that I created called the I Feel page. And you can literally just take a blank piece of A4 paper or your journal, a page in your journal, and write how you feel, write everything down. Or you can actually download this PDF that I created and go through the steps one by one. There are prompts there are questions that can help us work through specific emotions and help us to capture the message there and really notice how things shift and transform as we connect to the emotion rather than trying to run away or avoid it. So I'll link that in the show notes and you can try that out. I call that the I Feel page. So you can literally also just grab a blank piece of paper and just write how you feel. I've used this practice many times. I've also written many letters whenever I've gone through challenging relationships or breakups, or with family members or friends or loved ones, or like whoever. Whenever I've gone through something difficult and there's a lot of emotions there, I grab a pen and paper and I write a letter. I write a letter to that person, unfiltered. I literally write everything that I'm thinking and feeling onto the paper. And this letter is not something to send to the person. You may wish to later on, maybe a little bit more edited version. If your original version has lots of swear words and mean things. If you're really like in the thick of things, you might, when you're actually writing it out, you might be just like swearing and scribbling and writing all sorts of things. You might not want to send that to the person because that might not be very constructive. Though for your expression and for your healing, to get that on paper is incredibly beneficial. So just to write a letter, and then afterwards, usually what I do is I screw it up, throw it away, or I actually burn the piece of paper. I go outside and safely burn that in an area, in a barbecue or a metal container or something that you can burn that safely. This is something that can be incredibly healing just to let go. Essentially, what you're saying to yourself and the universe is like, I choose to let this go now. I'm letting this go and I'm releasing this. So you can do the I feel page. You can write your own page of words. You can write it in the form of a letter to whoever that is. But at the end of all of those processes, it's the same. Screw it up, throw it away, and come back to the present moment. Release that, let that go. And the second thing that I've found incredibly useful and powerful is getting into the body. So this also links in with creative expression. Though rather than writing, getting into the body and feeling that emotion and dancing that out, moving that out in whatever way feels good for you. I love to dance. Dance is one of the ways that I release emotion whenever I feel frustrated, angry, sad, happy, whatever emotion I dance. Dance is my go-to to express, as well as painting and writing. Though dancing is really wonderful because you're connecting to the body as a whole, and emotions, they reside in our body. And if we don't allow them to flow through us, they can get trapped in our body. So through the physical movement, what we're doing is we're helping to release and unblock any trapped emotions as well that perhaps may be stored within the body. So there are 3 keys that I talk about with my students in terms of this, in terms of really getting embodied in the body and allowing emotions to flow through us. And that is breath, movement, and sound. So connecting to the breath as you're moving. So really noticing that inhale, that exhale. If you're feeling angry, stressed, frustrated, fearful, keep connecting to the breath. Breathe. Inhale, exhale, and then start to move your body in whatever way feels good for you. There's no right or wrong with this. We're not looking to create a beautiful masterpiece performance here. It's all about expression, your expression. So find a time where you can be just with yourself and move your body, shake your body. You may have noticed that on animal documentaries that after being chased by a lion, if one of the animals manages to get away, they actually shake their whole body because they're releasing that stress and tension from that experience of being chased by a lion. Now, we are mammals also, and when we've gone through stressful periods, it can be really beneficial to move our body, shake our body, jump around, get active, and move that energy through our body, move the emotions through our body so we can release that. So breath, movement, and sound. You can bring sound to that. Let out a big sigh, scream, shout if you need to, growl, whatever sound you feel good doing. That's absolutely wonderful. Perhaps you want to put some music on so you can create a safe space for you to really release. So connecting to the breath, the movement, and sound, and just allowing yourself to release anything that you feel you may be holding on to. You don't need to hold on to these emotions. You don't need to hold on to those stresses and worries. There are ways to let those go, and some of those ways can be really creative and actually quite enjoyable and fun in the process. So try those out, either the writing or the movement, like the breath, movement, and sound, those 2 options, and let me know what your experience is as you do. You can find me on social media. You can connect to me by email, info@emmabradford.net. I'd love to hear your shares on this. This is such a huge topic. I love to hear how you navigate emotions constructively. And I'll be doing many more episodes on this topic, I'm sure, in the future as well, because this is such a massive topic, too much for a bite-sized episode. So until then, sending you all of my love and wishing you a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?